Hello and welcome to Hysteria. I'm Erin Ryan.
And I'm Alyssa Mastromonaco.
So Alyssa, you and I have had some kind of like dark times during this pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Some times of pessimism, some times of guarded optimism. But this week we got some really good news, and that was that President Joe Biden announced that we're going to have enough vaccine doses for the entire U.S. population by the end of May. So my question for you is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how optimistic are you feeling about COVID this week?
6.5, 7.
Okay, explain.
6.5, 7. 1, because I'm very excited about that news, of course. Though also need to know that they'll have enough doses. They won't be in people's arms by then. We are having a slight uptick in deaths, and daily COVID cases have plateaued at what was the spike level last summer. So I really need people. Hello, Governor Abbott of Texas, you motherfucker. Like, really, I'm worried that people are going to let up, that the variants are going to keep mutating, that the vaccine won't work. So I'm so excited about the news, but I just need everyone to keep their mask on and hold tight. That's I'm like so excited about the news, but then I feel like fucking Debbie Downer when people are talking about it. And I'm like, wah, wah, but don't forget, we need people for Texas to go completely open and no mask mandate. Is like, what are you doing? Houston is literally the only city with all the variants.
Yeah.
So that's why I can't be higher than a 6.5 or 7, even though I want to be.
Okay, I think I'm about right there, but I really want to revisit the Greg Abbott thing. Here's something that I had an inkling for a while, but this week has really solidified this impression that I've had of Greg Abbott. The bitch can't govern.
He can't govern.
The bitch can't govern. He's a real shitty. He cannot run a state. He has conflated. He's fallen for the big conservative lie that doing nothing is somehow an innovation in leadership. He just can't. The bitch can't govern.
He can't. And also, guess what? Do you think we're all so stupid that we don't know? You literally have fucked up your state, and you had one of the biggest disasters. People are getting electric bills for $5,000 and $6,000 for days worth of electricity because of how fucked up your grid is. And you think that we don't know this is some sort of smoke and mirrors obfuscation, You're all real mad at me, but I'm opening up the salons. Get out of here.
Yeah, there are some really great people in Texas that are working really hard to turn that state from red to blue, and I'm so hoping that this can give them the angry inspiration to bring it back home. But yeah, to the people who are not those, blue voters who voted for Greg Abbott, this is what happens when you vote for a bitch who can't govern.
Can't govern.
This is what happens.
No skills.
Nope.
None.
Alyssa, it's happening
Erin.
in your state. It's happening in your state again this week.
What a situation we have here in New York. I have to say, I think far fewer people are Cuomo-sexuals these days than they were in the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah, a lot more people who have Cuomophobia.
I would say Cuomophobia is rampant here in New York, as you know.
Can you kind of explain what's going on with Andrew Cuomo?
Well, Erin, as folks know at this point, he has been accused by 2 women who worked with him at some point of unwanted advances, bad touching, very bad taste in jokes that he says now that he was forced to release a statement, he meant to be playful. See my air quotes, playful. So things have gotten real here in New York, and people are asking for independent investigations. Democrats and Republicans are asking for Cuomo to step down or to be impeached. It is again up to our savior here in New York State, Letitia James, the Attorney General. When asked for an investigation, Cuomo was like, I've got this covered. I've got the perfect person to conduct this investigation. And Democrats and Republicans alike were like, hell no, you will refer this over to the AG. Tish James was like, you will not be picking your own investigator. And so she is now in charge of investigating 2 claims by former government employees and a woman who was at a wedding with him where he touched her face and asked if he could kiss her while touching the low of her back. And when she moved his hand from up above her buttocks, he was like, why are you so aggressive?
Oh.
Not great. Not great. This is potentially the only thing that could loosely unite Elise Stefanik and AOC.
I know, really? That is, wow. My head just exploded imagining them on the same team of anything. If I were a man and I was a politician and who had worked his entire career to become governor of one of the country's most populous states, I would simply not be a creep. That would be that's my tip.
It's seeming harder and harder for people to not be creeps or to understand what being a creep is. I mean, on the one hand, I am not making light of this. Several of the allegations are pure abuse of power allegations, and also some real fucking creepiness. And I feel like men should look in the mirror when they're going to say, I don't know, are you uncomfortable? And when someone says yes, kind of know they're being creepy.
Right. Instead of being like, so I can't hug women anymore, it's like, yeah, because we didn't ever like it.
Never.
Like, you're mad because
me.
Now we're just telling you that we didn't like it? No, we've never liked it. We've literally never liked it.
Never.
You know, Cuomo's behavior with women, or the three women who have like come forward to talk about him being creepy, has brought up, in my brain at least, the fact that Cuomo has been kind of a bully and a jerk with other people in a not sexual context. And I'm not minimizing the unique way that feeling sexually harassed or having a creepy experience with a man with more power than you feels for a woman. But do you think that maybe the fact that Cuomo was a bully to people in a non-sexual way should have maybe portended what we're seeing now?
Everything that was ever reported, that people talked about, that people knew about Harvey Weinstein, is that he was a bully. Everybody always said that. And so where there is smoke, there, I think, is usually some fire. This all sort of started with the nursing home deaths. When Cuomo said, you know, this is what we had to do. We had to report them differently. It was because Trump was going to take away all of our funding, blah, blah, blah. That's actually, honestly, I kind of get that. Like, I do. And I'm glad that was like on behalf of the people of New York. It was when he bullied Assemblymember Ron Kim and didn't just bully him, said, if you don't back me up and put out this statement of support saying you agree with what I did, I will destroy you. Guess what? That never ends well. I may destroy you, doesn't land. It just doesn't. Yep. Doesn't matter where.
Yeah. And, you know, we've talked about Cuomo being a bit of a bully before. I think another thing that this brings up is, you know, I think about all the people that call themselves Cuomo-sexuals and stuff. And I know that, like, you know, when we have people on the show and we talk to them, we're celebratory. We want it to be like a positive place for them to have, you know, to tell us what they're doing and what they're working on. We are not, you know, Nora O'Donnell or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, we're not adversarial. But at the same time, this whole Cuomo thing has really produced some embarrassing, very recent clips of people claiming like fandom of Cuomo because, you know, he was playing a competent governor on TV. And I think it's a really good like object lesson on how, you know, even if we really like a politician and we like their personality and we like what they're doing and we think that they've got great ideas and we're really excited about them and we wish them success, they still work for us.
Also, you know? Erin, it's again like we are witches because we are always witching. We literally just talked about why you shouldn't stand politicians like a week or two ago. And
I know.
And like in fairness, look, I'm going to be honest. I was very into the press conferences because we had such an abject failure of leadership at the national level that the only information that some people across the country, but definitely us in New York, were from Cuomo's press conferences. And so he was celebrated because at the time he was like the fucking drink of water in the middle of the desert. But now he's got some explaining to do. For sure.
You know, again, I don't want to minimize like any sexual harassment stuff, but I really would love to live in a country where governors are pressured to resign over policies that harm their constituents en masse, you know, by the thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands or millions. I yearn for a day when that is as big a deal as inappropriate workplace behavior. I'm glad that inappropriate workplace behavior is a big deal, but I would like for other stuff to be a big deal as well.
Also, let's elect governors who don't ask subordinates to play strip poker.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I also want to say we've talked a lot about Cuomo today. There's another politician that's been having a lot of sexual harassment stuff in the news today, and we would be remiss if we didn't shout out this wunderkind of creepiness. Look, here's the difference between Andrew Cuomo, and I think you can guess who I'm going to talk about, Madison Cawthorn, North Carolina's serial pathological liar of a freshman congressman. I don't think anybody serious would say that Andrew Cuomo is the future of the Democratic Party. Nobody serious says that. No. Andrew Cuomo, for a lot of young voters, young progressive voters, young Democrats, Andrew Cuomo kind of represents this old way of doing things, and nobody's looking for the next Andrew Cuomo, you know? Madison Cawthorn, on the other hand, is looked to as the future of the Republican Party because he looks like a Ken doll, and he says Facebook memes, and he lies a lot, and he likes Donald Trump. That's basically all it takes to be the future of the Republican Party. But Madison Cawthorn, during his one semester at Patrick Henry College, a conservative Christian college, managed to achieve really impressive feats of sex creepiness. He became known around campus as somebody who would take women in his car and attempt to move on them in ways that were aggressive. He had that reputation even before he went to college. And then he dropped out of college after a single semester with a grade point average, I think, of D's. So he is a real go-getter, that Madison Cawthorn.
Can I just say for the record, just back to Cuomo for a second, that I was a Miranda who voted for Cynthia.
I also voted for Cynthia. I didn't vote for Andrew Cuomo, but when he became governor, I was like, well, you know
Here
what?
we go.
Hopefully he will he will work with some people who I agree with more politically. And then I left New York, and I was like, I don't have to worry about him anymore. No. Anyway.
No.
We just need better guys, or just replace them with
different
women.
Ones.
Just entirely. We just need replace the guys. Okay. Let's get to toast and roast. I want to roast first.
You roast.
I have a Lenten roast. You were raised Catholic, right?
No. I'm a nothing.
Oh, okay. I was raised Catholic. I went all the way to Catholic school, and I would like to roast the Catholic Church. Not that the Catholic Church is really doing great PR-wise over the last few decades, but the Catholic Church has been doing some kind of dumb things. And when I say Catholic Church, I mean specific Catholic diocese. The Vatican is actually, in the Vatican, vaccinating people. Right. Like Pope Francis, I think, is among the wrong people in the Catholic Church. He is among the least wrong. That's what I'm going to say about Pope Francis. So the Catholic Church has a beef. A couple of dioceses of the Catholic Church have a beef with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and that is because in the development of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, some lab testing utilized an abortion-derived cell line, which means that, abortion-derived cell lines, stem cells, are often used in medical research because they lend themselves well to being tested on. It's very normal. A lot of things are tested. Parkinson's drugs are tested.
Lots of things.
Lots of things, guys. Lots of things. So these dioceses, there was a Catholic diocese in Tyler, Texas, that have rejected all three vaccines, saying that all three have been, quote, produced immorally because of obscure connections to an abortion in the distant past. The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops says that the two older vaccines are okay. But here's the thing. Like, calling a vaccine not okay because abortion was at one point used in its development.
Not helpful.
Okay, but then let's say that everything that involved abortion at some point should be unhelpful. Many people exist because their mothers were, at some point before they were born, able to obtain an abortion. Think about that. A lot of human beings exist because of some sort of intervention in the fertility process that the Catholic Church would call immoral. And, whatever. They've never been great at science. But I'm just going to go ahead and say any part of the Catholic Church poo-pooing any vaccine for a deadly pandemic is really unhelpful. it's like not it's beyond like ridiculous. It's unhelpful, and we don't need it. So that's the roast I have for the Catholic Church today. Do you have a roast, Alyssa?
I have a toast.
Okay.
Here's my toast. I would like to toast the employees of the Amazon facility in Bessemer, Alabama, who are voting on whether or not to unionize as we speak. Presidents, even FDR, typically do not intervene in unionization processes. But President Biden released a message this week stating, every worker should have a free and fair choice to join a union, calling it a vitally important choice that should be made without threat or intimidation by employers. So, I guess not only do I cheers the Amazon employees who are, fighting an uphill battle. Amazon is not being super chill about this. But I also want to cheers Biden because this was it was a real sort of shot of adrenaline, I think, for organizers down in Alabama, and I really do think that I hope they pull it off. I think that it'll mean a lot for the union movement and for organizers if they see success today.
Yeah, that would be great. And the Biden thing was a pleasant surprise.
It was. I was like, let me watch this again.
That's exciting. No, it's great to see a president stand with organized labor because we need it now more than ever. So I'm hoping the Amazon workers are able to unionize. That would be great.
Yeah.
We are so excited to welcome Jennifer Carroll Foy today. She's a former Virginia delegate and has dedicated her life to serving others, whether that's as a foster mother, a magistrate judge, or a public defender, to fighting for trans people's rights. She supported Medicaid expansion and led Virginia's effort to ratify the ERA. Now she's a candidate for Virginia governor. Welcome, Jennifer Carroll Foy.
Hi, it's an honor to be here with you, Erin and Alyssa. I'm just so super excited.
I was looking through your resume, by the way, and I was like, this woman is just a straight up superhero. It's like foster mother, public defender. Like, oh my goodness, you've got enough like good deeds for like 5 people. Can you tell us about why you decided to run for governor of Virginia?
Absolutely. I decided to run for governor really simply because so many Virginians have been left behind due to the broken status quo here. I could tell you that Petersburg, where I grew up, has one of the highest child poverty rates and rates of unaccredited schools in all of Virginia. And that's where I'm from. But luckily, I was raised by my grandparents and especially my grandmother, Mary Lee, a Southern Christian woman who had me in church 3 whole days a week.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, 3. Who taught me the values that I hold true. If I have it, I have to give it. And even though we didn't have much, I watched as she gave everything she had, working at Central State Mental Health Hospital, volunteering in our community, even letting people from our church who fell on hard times come live with us until they got back on their feet. So I'll never forget my grandmother had a stroke and became a quadriplegic. And having to decide while sitting at my dining room table with my aunt if we're going to pay for our mortgage that month or for the medications keeping my grandmother alive. And I like to say that is the moment when my journey for governor began.
Wow. So, Jennifer, Virginia has undergone a major transformation from red to purple to solid blue. Mm-hmm. And with Democrats controlling the levers of power, having now legalized marijuana, instituted universal background checks, raised the minimum wage, and now recently voting to ban the death penalty, what are the next issues that you'd like to see addressed?
So, Alyssa, we have heard our mandates. We were giving our marching orders, and I'm excited to say we've been getting things done in Virginia, which is amazing. And that's why this next election is so important, because we have to keep our majority to continue these progressive wins we've been having, because Republicans are salivating to undo all the great work we've been doing. So I say what's up next is, as the first public defender ever elected to the Virginia General Assembly, is reforming our cash bail system. I could tell you it has single-handedly contributed the most to mass incarceration. And every day I walk into that courtroom and I see people sitting in jail pre-trial simply because they are too poor to pay for their freedom. In Virginia, you are more likely to sit in jail pre-trial if you are Black, poor, and innocent than if you are white, wealthy, and guilty. And that is not justice. It is not fairness. It is not equality. And so I've taken up this fight, passing bills to prohibit law enforcement officers from using chokeholds so we don't have an Eric Garner situation here in Virginia. I have opened public defender's offices so people can get the competent, zealous representation they deserve. And I just happen to believe public defenders are the best. And so speaking from personal experience, and, just continuing this fight of ensuring that the disinvestments that's been made in the communities that have been hurt and harmed the most by over policing and our war on drugs, they are reaping the benefits, and we are directing policies and budgets that's going to uplift those communities in a real way.
Mm-hmm. My brother is a public defender, so I've got a soft spot in my heart for people who do that work. One of the proposed bills that you would push for as governor would be to increase funding for the Virginia Maternal Mortality Review Team. Can you tell us about your personal connection to the issue?
Absolutely. So I can tell you that when I was running for delegate, I announced I was running, and then a couple weeks later, my husband and I became pregnant. So I was pregnant during my entire campaign for delegate. And when people found out, they told me to drop out. They said I couldn't be a public defender, pregnant with twins, being outraised 4-1, and flipping a seat from red to blue. But do you know what I did? I won that race. And then after I won, I gave birth. But my birth story didn't just end there. It actually began with the fact that I had pain. I had more severe pain than I did when I was in labor. And the nurses, they ignored me. They told me it was normal. They said it was fine, and they sent me home. And one day I dropped to my knees and because I was in excruciating pain, and my husband picked me up, put me in the car, and rushed me to the emergency room. And that single effort saved my life, because they immediately admitted me and said that if I would have stayed home a little while longer, I definitely would have died. And that is the same story that so many other women, especially women of color, share. There is the Black maternal mortality phenomena that's happening, where Black and brown women are 4 times more likely to die during childbirth than postpartum, because we are not seen, we are not believed, and we are not heard. And it's costing Black and brown women our lives.
It is Women's History Month. And even before your political career, you made history by being the first woman to graduate from the Virginia Military Institute. If you become governor of Virginia, you'd be the first Black woman to become governor in U.S. history. What are some of the unique challenges and rewards that go along with being the first? And how can we celebrate people who break boundaries without putting an absurd amount of pressure on them?
That's right. So listen, we're going to say when I become governor. That's right. We're going to claim it. We're going to own it. That's right. From your mouth to his ears. And so I say that being the first is significant because representation matters. It's not enough to thank Black women for delivering the White House, helping us win Congress, but you also have to support us when we're ready to lead. And now is our time. We have yet to have a Black woman lead this great nation, but we have also yet to have a Black woman lead any state in this country as well. And so we have an opportunity to be able to address this in a real way, to have a working mom representing working families, a woman who's gone without health care, work minimum wage jobs, who understands the challenges that Virginia families face, because that's what matters. And so I can tell you that it's hard for little girls to be what they can't see. And they have yet to see a natural hair, Black woman with a red lip, be the executive of this state. And that must happen. And it must happen now. I can't believe we're having these conversations in 2021. But we need women leading state houses and courthouses. We need us, in every room imaginable. And I can tell you that, in the words of Kamala Harris, even though I will be the first, I definitely will make sure that I will not be the last, because breaking down barriers and blazing trails, it's what I do. As one of the first women to ever graduate from Virginia Military Institute, one of the top military colleges in this country, to being the first public defender ever elected to the Virginia General Assembly, it is very clear that I'm here for a purpose, and that's to root out, inequity and unfairness wherever it may lay, to ensure that everyone in Virginia's quality of life improves and that we move Virginia forward.
That's very impressive, and I really wish you the best of luck. So we'd like to end on a light note.
Yes.
What do you love the most about Virginia? And in your opinion, what is one of your state's hidden gems?
Oh, that's a really great question. I have to say, one of the things I love the most about Virginia are the people. You know, the people here in Virginia are some of the friendliest, most open, most genuine people you ever want to meet. I mean, it's the only place that you can go and you walk into a store and people just start a conversation with you. And I had an older woman, walk up to me and said, "You look like you've had a bad day." I'm like, "Listen, I have 2 3-year-olds." So, and she just gave me a hug and I'm like, I don't even know who this woman is, but it was great and it felt good. And that is just the Virginia way, And so I have to say that is amazing. And we have amazing places to visit no matter what you're looking for. If you're looking for bustling, urban things to do, we have that. If you want to be in the mountains and hiking and camping, we have that. We have a little bit of something for everyone. And we are rich in history. And so as Virginia's #1 supporter and hype man, I can tell you that it is the best place to be. And so come on and visit us here in Virginia.
Well, I will definitely head to Virginia as soon as I can get on an airplane again. I really, really want to not be in the West anymore.
That's right.
Jennifer Carroll Foy, thank you so much for joining us. It was great speaking to you, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much for having me. You'll have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.
You too.
Today, we are so excited to welcome back to Hysteria Virginia State Senator Jen McClellan. She's a fierce advocate for democratic principles, from protecting voting rights to pushing for legalization of marijuana to reforming the criminal justice system to expanding reproductive health access. And now she's running for governor and hoping to make history along the way as the first Black woman ever to do so. Welcome, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Erin and Alyssa. Good to be here.
Great to have you. So the last time we had you on the pod, you're in the two Hysteria guest appearances club now, which is exciting.
I am excited.
The last time you were on the pod, we asked you if the governor's mansion was potentially in the future, and so we're so excited to see you running. Can you tell us about why you decided to run for governor of Virginia?
Yeah, 2 reasons. I mean, first, as much progress as I've been able to make in the legislature, at the end of the day, the governor sets the agenda. Through the budget, through the appointments. When the governor makes something a priority, it's much more likely to happen. And so many of the issues I've been fighting on before COVID have now been made worse, whether it's access to childcare, access to healthcare, and equity in education. And we need a governor who has a new perspective, but the experience to get things done on day one, and who can rebuild our economy, our healthcare and economic safety nets, our education system, in a way that builds on the progress we've made, but also leaves no Virginian behind, and not only creates a seat at the table for voices and perspectives that haven't been heard, but take the table out into our community. So I'm ready to do that as governor, and am excited, very excited about what the future holds.
Jen, as we were prepping to talk to you today, one thing that really stood out was that you recently introduced a bill that would change state laws that criminalize HIV exposure, repealing an existing criminal ban on people living with HIV from donating, selling blood, organs, and tissues, as well as a requirement that people convicted of a certain crime be tested for HIV. It felt really relevant in this climate of COVID-era attacks on certain groups of people on the rise. How can a bill like this stop society from stereotyping groups of people?
Well, first of all, just by ending the stigma of singling out HIV-positive people. And these laws were put in place in the 80s when there was a very different understanding of the science. And they've been counterproductive from a public health perspective. And just putting the bill in forced a conversation that is long overdue about how we stigmatize HIV plus people, especially those of color and transgender individuals. So very excited that this bill passed.
On the topic of equity within the law, another bill you pushed for was marijuana legalization in the state. Why is marijuana legalization important to you, and what other reforms need to happen in tandem? And would you like to see a federal legalization of weed?
I would like to see federal, because no matter what we do at the state level, if you still have the federal prohibition, all of the inequities that come with that continue. This is important because it's clear that the country is moving in the direction of legalization, and I wanted to be sure it was done right. We have seen in other states where it has not been done equitably, those people, predominantly Black and brown people, who have been arrested and incarcerated, and the community is devastated as a result. They continue to have the stigma of that felony, even after legalization. And those communities and those individuals don't benefit from the new business. And so I put in a study resolution last year that asked our one of our state agencies study how other states have done it and make recommendations how we can do it according to some key principles that included criminal justice reform, social equity, public health. And my interest has been making sure Virginia does it right. We've still got a little ways to go with the bill that we passed, but we're headed in the right direction.
If you become governor of Virginia, you would be the first Black woman to become governor in the United States. Does that feel daunting or awesome? And do you feel like there is a way to celebrate people who break boundaries without putting an absurd amount of pressure on them?
It's both. It is exciting and thrilling, and I get chills when I think about how, my great-grandfather had to take a literacy test and find 3 white people to vouch for him just to be able to vote, but my great-grandmother couldn't. And when I think about everything that my ancestors, even my parents, did to be able to vote, to think that I would be the governor in the former capital of the Confederacy, the first woman, is exciting and exhilarating, and particularly because I will bring the life experiences and perspectives that have never been represented there. It's daunting because I feel the weight of that. I feel the weight of everyone is watching me, including my daughter. And if I fail, then what does that say? But and knowing that I'm under a different kind of microscope is a bit daunting. But and it's amazing to me we're still having firsts. Mm-hmm. After 400 years of Africans and 400 years of women in Virginia, we're still having firsts is amazing to me. But I'm excited, and I'm ready to break that glass ceiling.
Mm-hmm. Jen, you mentioned being a mom. And some of our favorite politicians right now are moms, like Representative Katie Porter from California, where I am. And, we have Kamala Harris as a stepmom. Do you think there's something about being a mom that informs your politics and makes you a more effective leader?
Definitely. And I did it backwards from most women in that I got elected and then got married and had kids. And so living the experiences of being a working mom while being a policymaker changed my perspective, but also, I'm a captive audience. I literally, when I became the first woman in the House of Delegates to be pregnant while in office, I was a captive audience for my doctor to talk to me about how abortion laws impact her patients. Mm-hmm. Then I could tell those stories on the House floor. As we're debating reopening businesses, I can be the voice saying, what about childcare? Because that's an issue I'm struggling with. As we're debating when to open schools, I've got 2 kids, sitting at the kitchen table in public school. I'm living the experiences while I'm making policy on them, it can't help but change your perspective and make policy better.
So we like to end on a light note here. So what's your favorite thing about your state, Virginia? And in your opinion, what is one of Virginia's hidden gems?
Oh, my favorite thing about Virginia, I think now that in the past 2 years, we've been the first Southern state to do so many amazing things, whether it's proactively protect reproductive health, to pass our own Voting Rights Act, to have a 100% clean energy economy. We are really leading the way. And because Virginia has been, on the right side of history is the birthplace of American democracy. On the wrong side of history is the birthplace of the American slave trail and massive resistance that we are now leading in a good way again. I'm very proud of. A hidden gem, our natural resources are just gorgeous. I mean, we've got everything from beaches to mountains to, great state parks. I think just getting out, Natural Bridge, just getting out in the beauty of nature in Virginia is exciting, and everybody should come see Natural Bridge.
Wait, what is Natural Bridge? Tell me about it.
So Natural Bridge is a giant, I think it's limestone bridge built just through erosion over time that was discovered by Thomas Jefferson. So it's a gigantic arch that has a highway now going over it. And yeah, it's beautiful and weird all at the same time.
That's awesome. Virginia is beautiful. I've been there before. It was years ago. And can't wait to go back when plane travel is possible once more.
Well, come back when I'm inaugurated.
I would love that. Thank you, Jen McClellan, for joining us, and best of luck. We're really excited that you're running for governor.
Thank you. Great seeing you guys, and stay safe.
Great seeing you too.